At this time, the state is making a recommendation of 45 years with 25 to serve in custody, followed by 20 on probation.
Welcome to BrainFLoTv / Hot Topics TV. You already know, if the topic is hot, we're on it. Yeah, that's me. And check it. Nothing is hotter than this right now, right? Young Thug is free. He is out. He was released. Jail records show that Atlanta rapper Young Thug is free. He was released last night. That means he was released on the 30th of the 10th, 2024. Today is the 1st of the 11th, 2024. Listen, man. There's some material that I'll be playing in this video at the end of the video so you can hear what the prosecution recommended that I'm glad the judge did not go with, and you'll hear me read the details of his release, right? The fact that Young Thug actually asked for permission to keep contact with, because stipulations to his release says he's not supposed to have contact with anybody inside of that YSL organization. He can't be around gangsters anymore, you know, that type of stuff, or anybody who is deemed to be a gangster by the system, convicted felon, etc. He can't have contact with none of those people no more. He specifically asked the judge to have contact with his brother and to have contact with Gunna. Now, of course, a lot of us out here was saying, you know, Gunna is snitch. And he threw the case under the bus, because we remember Gunna saying, yes ma'am, yes ma'am. Is YSL a gang? Gunna said, yes ma'am. Is YSL a criminal organization? He said, yes ma'am. Did YSL, is it true that you have knowledge of individuals committing crimes in furtherance of this gang? He said, yes ma'am. And then Gunna left and went on his plea deal and was released immediately. So of course it threw everybody off. Hopefully now we'll get a clear explanation from Thug as to what was that about. Maybe it was because Gunna is a high earner, and maybe Thug told him from the get-go, listen, whatever deal they got for you on the table, take that deal and go get that money, because we need money to keep this organization running. We need a steady stream of income coming in, right? We know Thugger got his millions already, but I'm saying when you jammed up, your millions could be frozen too. We need liquidated money. We don't know what the reason was, but we know now that he is asking for permission to have contact with Gunna so they can continue to make music together, to tour, do shows together, etc. I'll run down all the other details at the end of this video. Me speaking on this video is just me putting a message out there. One, sometimes when you've worked your ass off and you have elevated and you get to a certain level in life, you gotta let some people go. You gotta cut some people loose. And for a lot of us, that's some of the hardest thing to do, is to cut day ones loose. But a lot of day ones aren't going where you're heading. A lot of day ones, they're not on what you're on. They're not on your timing. And they end up becoming a liability. They end up becoming extra baggage. You know what I mean? And they end up sometimes getting you in trouble and costing you everything that you've been working hard for. Crumble your whole empire. I hope a lot of brothers out there paid attention to this whole situation with Thug and the RICO case, trial, and everything that went down in it, right? With that said, here's a message directly for Thug. Thugger, listen. God already had put you in a position to win in this. I know you sat down for a minute behind bars, locked up, sat down. He sat you down for a minute, but you were already in a position to win. You and I know that if this was just an average Joe Blow from out in the streets that went in on this, you would have been doing time. And you would have been doing some serious time behind this, right? You were already put in a position to win. For the fact that you could even afford an attorney like Brian Steele, for the fact that financially you were capable, for the fact that, you see what I'm saying? You were already put in a position to win. I think God was trying to talk to you all along though, because you are a born leader. You are a leader. You know, you were selected by the Almighty. And I think you weren't listening. See, sometimes when our Father try to speak to us and we too busy because we caught up, we getting money, we live in a fast-paced life, we dibbling and dabbling, we doing this and some of that. You know, we got this one in the air, that one in the air, we moving. We don't take the time to sit down and listen to what the Father is trying to tell us, to what the Almighty Creator is trying to tell us. So sometimes in life, He sits you down. And depending on how stubborn you are, you could get sit down for a minute. Thugger was sat down, you was sat down for over 900 days. You should put your next mixtape or album should be labeled over 900 days. And then give us everything that came out of you being in there, because I know your mind was working. I know we about to get some serious heat. You about to be back on the charts. Your money about to look stupid like it was before and even better. And you notice, and that's your blessing. Motherfuckers get locked up 900 days, 2.5 years, come home and got to start all over again. You don't. That's your blessing. But check it. It's time for you to leave the foolishness and the friggery behind. I know you don't know who I am, but I advocated the same way for Vybz Kartel's freedom. I hope you go look up who Vybz Kartel is. If you don't know who he is already, out of Jamaica. I swear I hope both of y'all make music together because the culture needs it, right? And when I say the culture needs it, you see my flag back there? That's half Jamaican, half American, right? So the culture needs that. Now, Vybz Kartel just did 13 off of his 48. He was supposed to do 48, and he fought it. He was in the same position you were in. You just didn't have to do 13 because the justice system in Jamaica works a bit longer. But when I was advocating for Vybz Kartel, a lot of people was, I got the heat too. Oh, so when they came over here to this channel and they found me, they were like, yeah, so you over here advocating for Young Thug to get out of prison. It makes sense. You advocated for Vybz Kartel, who was one criminal. Now you over here advocating for Young Thug, who is another criminal. So anywhere you go in the world, you advocate for criminals. It makes sense. That's what somebody said to me. And I left the comment on the channel just for future reference. Why? Because I knew you were coming home. I knew this was going to be put down in a minute. We've been saying that it needed to be thrown out for the longest, but we don't control the system. And when you get behind them bars and you get in these people's system, they could pretty much do anything they want to do with you. What I want you to do though, Thugger, is I want you to move differently from now on. Yeah, you got sat down for over 900 days. You know what time it is. It's time to put certain things behind you. It's time to live a whole different type of life. You already know, if these people see you again in their courtroom, it's over. And you don't have time for that. You do not have time for that. You have been blessed and put in a position to be able to bless many other people. So leave the bullshit alone. Leave whatever can get you in trouble alone. Steer far from trouble. Steer far from trouble. Any kind of trouble. We know how peer pressure goes. There's a lot of people that's going to be saying stuff like, testing your gangster. He ain't street no more. He ain't hood no more. He ain't gangster no more. He can't do this and he can't do that. He weak. He done went soft. He this, he that. You have nothing to prove. You've been proving and showing your whole life. You 30-something years old. 40 is around the corner, right? After you pass 30 years old, the next couple of decades heading up in life, they happen faster than how you went from 1 year old to friggin' 30 years old. So the rest of your years should be spent on doing good. Put it that way. Whatever doing good comes as for you. Taking care of your family, elevating yourself mentally, spiritually, financially, getting physically fit, mind, body, and soul, all of that, right? And helping those you can help along the way to show your gratitude to the Most High for being put in the position you've been put in. That's all your life should be about after this. You have nothing left to prove. You've proven already. You've been proven already, right? You've been more than proven already. I'm going to give you a joke. The people who want you to prove that you live certain lyrics in songs, or you got to be out here and be in these streets 10 toes down, or you got to be associated with the negativity, the gun busting, the gang banging, the this, the that, and the other. Those are people who have never achieved not even half of what you have achieved, meaning they have not been blessed, chosen, and been blessed the way you have been chosen and been blessed. And nothing makes losers or underachievers more happier than to see those who have achieved a lot lose it. Because when they lose all of it, it makes people who haven't gotten everything that you've gotten feel like, okay, he back on my level. You're not. You weren't meant to be. That's why you were elevated way up. Stay up. I'm going to leave it like that, right? The rest of this video right here, this message is for Thug, but the rest of the video, and somebody else could see the sense in this message and use it for yourself too. The rest of this video, you can listen to it and, you know, figure out what the conditions of his bail situation is going to be like. Not bail, he's free. Yeah, but what the conditions of his release is going to be like and all that other stuff. Listen, I'll catch you on the next video. Hit that subscribe button and continue to help this channel to grow. And for those of you who know me from my other channel is BrainFLoTv over on YouTube right here. You could go over there and click the subscribe button over there as well. You know, real people do real things. That's it. Oh, and I voted right there. And that vote was for Kamala Harris and Walz. That's what I said. Alright, don't play stupid. I'll catch y'all on the next video. I'm out. Peace.
At this time, the state is making a recommendation of 45 years with 25 to serve in custody, followed by 20 on probation, subject to the special requirements of 1615 for the gang statute.
All right, and do you want to break down for me what your recommended sentence on each count is?
Yes, Your Honor. The state is recommending on count 1, 5 years to serve. Count 56, 20 years to serve consecutively to count 1. Count 57, 5 years of probation to serve consecutively to count 56. Count 58, 10 years of probation to serve concurrently with count 57. Count 59, 5 years of probation to serve concurrently with count 57 and 58. Count 60, 5 years of probation concurrent with count 57, 58, and 59. Count 61, 5 years of probation consecutive to count 57. And count 62, 10 years of probation consecutive to count 61.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Williams, did you discuss the state's previous offer with your attorneys?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and so we're all clear that we're talking about the same thing. Can you put what the state's previous offer was on the record for me, please?
I can, Your Honor.
Thank you.
The state's previous offer was a total of 43 years with 20 years, 5 years to serve on count 56, commuted to time served, followed by 15 years on probation. On count 58, the sentence was 10 years to serve in the Georgia Department of Corrections, consecutive to count 56. Count 59 was 3 years to serve in the Georgia Department of Corrections, consecutive to counts 56 and 58. Count 60 was 5 years to serve in the Georgia Department of Corrections, consecutive to counts 56, 58, and 59. Count 61 was 5 years to serve in the Georgia Department of Corrections, consecutive to counts 56, 58, 59, and 60.
Was that the entirety of what the sentence was?
No, Your Honor,
I mean, I
still
know there were
reading.
special conditions, so y'all were
There
going to null pros,
We,
what,
yeah,
1
yeah.
and 62?
Yes, as part
Okay.
of the recommended sentence, in exchange for the defendant agreeing to the special conditions that we asked the court to impose, the state was willing to null pros count 1, count 57, and count 62.
Okay, and then all of that consecutive to the probation, that was going to be what we call backloaded, and what were y'all proposing with regard to that, since it was
The
going to
total-
follow the probated sentence?
The total sentence was 43 years to serve, with the first 5 years in prison commuted to time served, followed by 15 years on probation, followed by 23 years in prison, which would have been served in confinement, except that if defendant had complied with the special conditions of probation imposed as part of this sentence, the backloaded portion of defendant's sentence would have been commuted. However, should defendant had violated any special condition of probation within the first 15 years of his sentence, his probated sentence would have immediately been revoked, and he would have been required to serve the entire remainder of his sentence confined to the Georgia Department of Corrections.
All right, so as long as he had successfully completed his 15 years of probation, the 23 years that was going to follow it was going to be commuted to time served, as long as his probation was successful. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor,
Okay.
and the special, would the court like for us to?
No, I was really more interested in the length of sentence and what y'all had. I know you didn't reach agreement, but y'all, that's what the last offer had been, with, of course, a bunch of special conditions, which I guess is where the hang-up is. I don't know.
Right, defendant did not want to agree to
Okay.
the special conditions.
All right. Is that basically your understanding too, Mr.
Yes, Your
Steele
Honor.
and
It would
Mr.
have been,
Adams?
yes, Your Honor, Mr. Williams would have been released today for 15 years on probation. If he successfully completes that probation, then he would not have to go to custody. If he did not, he'd face probation revocation as well as 23 years, as the court said, backloaded in the Georgia prison system. But we
Okay.
could not come to terms on all the conditions that the district attorney was insisting.
Okay.
Alright everybody, so here is the rest of this video. The details about Young Thug's release and more details so you have a full understanding of what took place and what it's going to be from now on. Young Thug released from jail after guilty plea on gang charges. Here are the details. U.S. rapper Young Thug was released from jail on Thursday evening after pleading guilty to gang, drugs, and gun charges in a dramatic twist that ended the longest criminal trial in Georgia history. The 33-year-old Grammy winner-born Jeffrey Lamar Williams has spent more than 900 days behind bars since his arrest on racketeering and gang-related charges. In May of 2022, prosecutors alleged that the rap label that he founded was a front for an organized crime syndicate responsible for 75 to 80% of violent crimes in Atlanta, Georgia. He was sentenced on Thursday to time served and 15 years of probation, and jail records now show that he was released later on that night. The details and the stipulations says if Thugger violates his probation while he is out, he will be returned to jail where he will be put in the system and he will have to do 20 years behind bars. In court, he stood up and he said, I take full responsibility for my crimes, for my charges. To really everybody that has got something to do with this situation, I want to say sorry. In a 5-minute speech, he described himself as a good guy with a good heart who found himself in a lot of stuff because I was just nice or just cool. And I understand that you can't be that way when you reach a certain height because it could end bad and it could fall on you. Now, for the prosecutors had planned to recommend a sentence of 45 years, including 25 of that which he was supposed to serve behind bars. And then after he got out, after serving 25 years behind bars, he would then be on probation for another 20 years. Praise be to the Most High, it did not work out like that. Shout out to Judge Paige Whitaker. Now, with the plea negotiation, were unsuccessful, and Superior Court Judge Paige Whitaker instead chose Thugger's punishment, commuting his sentence to the time he has already served and paving the way for his release. I want you to try to be more of a solution and less of a problem, is what Judge Whitaker told Thugger. I want you to try to be more of a solution and less of a problem. As part of the deal, Thugger pleaded guilty to 1 gang charge. He pled guilty to 3 drug charges and 2 gun charges. He also entered a no contest plea to leading a gang and violating the State's Racketeer Influenced and Corruption Organizations Act, the RICO, meaning that he decided not to contest those charges and just to accept the punishment for them. Judge Whitaker additionally stipulated 100 hours of community service, a ban on contact with gang members or former co-defendants. He cannot have any contact with them. All these are things that will violate his probation. And a prohibition from remaining in the metropolitan Atlanta area for the first 10 years of his 15 years probation period, except under special circumstances, including weddings, funerals, and the anti-gang and anti-gun presentations he is required to host 4 times per year. Thank you for realizing and recognizing his power and his influence, and for putting him on in a direction where it will be used for the betterment of his community and other young men like himself. Check it. For those of you who miss what that part means that Thugger got to get the fuck up out of town. He is banned from his own metropolitan Atlanta area. He should not be there for the next 10 years. At least the next 10 years out of the 15 years that he will be on probation. Move out to California. Move out to wherever it's popping. Hell, I would say move out to a place where nothing really happens around you and nobody really knows where you're at. And then you fly out, you do your shows, you do whatever. You know where to go when you need to be in the mix. And then get back to your quiet space, ghost. So he's prohibited from being in Atlanta for the next 10 years, except under special circumstances. If you got to go to a wedding for a friend or a family member, if you got to go to funerals and anti-gang and anti-gun presentations that he is required to host 4 times per year. Thursday's change of plea brings an end to a multi-defendant case that was plagued by multiple delays, courtroom disturbances, and motions for mistrial. When the man known to his fans as Thugger was arrested in May of 2022, prosecutors charged him and 27 other associates at his rap label, Young Stoner Life, or YSL Records, with conspiracy to violate the RICO Act, famously used in mafia prosecutions, used for the mob. Arguing that YSL is in fact stands for criminal gang called Young Slime Life, they tried the men in court, including fellow rap star Gunna, to a series of felony charges, including murder, armed robbery, carjacking in the streets of Atlanta. But the incident drew widespread outrage over prosecutors' use of YSL rap lyrics as evidence of the gang's actions and criminal intent. Critics argued the charges violated the rapper's freedom of speech and were part of a growing assault on a black-dominated art form. Several of Mr. Williams' co-defendants took plea deals or had their cases served or severed so they could go be tried on their own. And one even had his charges dropped after an unrelated murder conviction. And by the time the trial began, only 6 defendants remained. Jury selection began in January of 2023 and lasted nearly 10 months just for jury selection. In July of this year, 2024, the trial was put on hold indefinitely after Thugger lawyers asked a previous judge to take himself off of the case due to a misconduct allegation. The lawyer said that Fulton County Superior Court Judge Ural Granville held an improper meeting on the 10th of June when he met privately with prosecutors and a key witness. We know now that that key witness was Woody. They claim that Judge Granville sought to pressure the witness into testifying, and the lawyers pressed him to recuse himself, motion which the judge had, of course, denied. Mr. Williams' lead attorney, Brian Steele, was also found in criminal contempt in June this year after refusing to reveal how he got to know about what was happening in that meeting. The trial also saw a number of unusual incidents, including the arrest of a Fulton County deputy for allegedly attempting to smuggle contraband to a defendant. In another instance, the court's Zoom account was hacked into by an apparent supporter of Thugger, with words on the screens saying, quote unquote, "Free Thug." Earlier this week, 3 of Mr. Williams' co-defendants in this case also took plea deals leading up to him pleading guilty and taking his deal as well. The remaining 2 defendants in this case, Shannon Stillwell and Demonte Kendrick, reportedly plan to move ahead with their own trials. This is where it ends. That's the full detail. I'm going to say it again. Brian Steele is a boss. When the judge said that Brian Steele, which is Young Thug's attorney, lead attorney, was held in contempt and he would spend the next 16 weekends in jail, the only thing that attorney asked for was that he would be locked in with his client, Young Thug, so that they could continue to work on his case and strategies to get him free. That lawyer didn't even think about himself. He thought about his client. He said it from day one that he was going to move heaven and earth and do everything in his power to get Jeffrey up out of there. Well, guess what? He's free. He saved him. We talking about 45 years behind bars where you were supposed to do 25 and then do another 20 on probation. And after 900 days plus, it's time served. Y'all leave your comments in the comment section below, and I'll catch you on the next video. That's the full rundown. We don't need to hear nothing more. After this, we could go listen to what Thugger got to say, because he's out now and he's free to speak. I'm out. Hit that subscribe button. Peace.